much for being with me again today. It's becoming more and more pleasurable to cover Mr. Medvedev statements because he's real, or at least he says things, it seems like, that he really feels. He is not playing the weasel game. I did not know him that way. I don't know him personally, but from his statements in the past, he seemed to be more balanced, let's put it this way. If you remember, the Western analysts and politicians thought of Medvedev as being the most West-leaning leader in the Kremlin. And it seems like he's got a lot of, how do you call it, animosity towards the West, or at least he's very angry, seems to me at least, according to his, just judging by his statements. His statements are not, I would say, incorrect most of the time. I think they're correct. It's just that he's very passionate, it seems. This article comes from the Jerusalem Post, and it is from November 18th. This is the title. Russia's Medvedev says, Ukrainians deserve death penalty for execution of POWs. Now, if you remember, today the Russians showed some videos on some Russian POWs that they were captured, about 12 or so, and then according to the Russians they were killed without having weapons, but they say it was one guy who showed up with a weapon. Nevertheless, then they said a drone came and after that and saw all the Russian military, the captured military personnel being killed. And obviously we don't know the whole story, but nevertheless those guys are dead, and they say that this is a war crime. So I don't think any investigation was conducted, obviously, and based on the footage that they say, might be. We'll see what, or might be not. As I said, I always, you gotta wait until the end to figure things out. You can have an initial assessment, but in the end, you need all the evidence, the context, and all that. A video circulated on Russian social media, which was said to show the execution of Russian prisoners of war. The Ukrainian soldiers who were reportedly shown executing Russian prisoners of war should suffer, quote-unquote, poor punishment in the form of death penalty, former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev said Friday evening. And I'm quoting, "Many years ago, I was taught criminal law at university. They said criminal punishment consists of two elements, correction and re-education of criminals and punishment." Medvedev wrote in his Telegram group, "Death is the only pure punishment for obvious reasons," end quote. Medvedev continued saying that, and I'm quoting, "Ukrainian bastards who shot Russian servicemen should not receive any other punishment than a pure punishment, even if it takes years to find them," end quote. Earlier on Friday, Russia's defense ministry claimed Ukraine had executed more than 10 Russian POWs, accusing Kiev of carrying out war crimes that Moscow said the West ignores. Well, I don't know if Israel is part of the West, but we'll see what the West says in their reporting. Don't hold your breath on that one. The ministry cited a video circulating on Russia's social media, which is said showed the execution of Russian prisoners of war. Yeah. And the video, or the defense ministry claim, could not be immediately verified. And I'm quoting, "The brutal murder of Russian servicemen is neither the first nor the only war crime," the defense ministry said. It says, "This is common practice in the armed forces of Ukraine that is actively supported by the Kiev regime and blandly ignored by its Western patrons," end quote. The video shows what appears to be Russian soldiers laying down on the ground in Makiivka, eastern Ukraine, after surrendering. Then gunfire rings out and the video shows the bodies. Well, apparently, and that is, what appears at the first glance, it must have been that these guys shot the other guys. Now, I don't know who's who, what's what, but let's put it like this. If it's a fake, it's a fake. All right, then it's obvious that, what do I mean by fake? There are certain, situations when you don't know all the facts, and let's say its manufacturer is whatever. Let's put that to the side. Let's say that's one. We don't discuss about that one. Let's say this actually occurred. So if it actually occurred in a context that is presented, those were military servicemen get out of the house or whatever they were located, because that's what I said in the initial article, and they get gunned down by the Ukrainian soldiers, then without wearing Russian uniforms, military uniforms, and they got shot by these guys. I don't know how can you justify that as legitimate on the part of the Ukrainians. But then I don't know if those servicemen had, let's say, I know that it's only one way when not one way. One way of dealing with this kind of situations without being considered, I think, a war crime, is when those guys are wearing the enemy's uniforms. I think you don't need to even court-martial them. I remember, and I used this example in my previous video, and the Ardennes, the counteroffensive, the German counteroffensive in the Ardennes, the last push to break the front in the western front after the landing. The Germans they tried to do all kind of subversive operations, and they used American uniforms to go behind the enemy line and create panic and shoot and all that, which they created, but some of them were captured and they were killed on the spot. And not only that, there are some other ones who were killed on the spot, but it was unjustified. So I know about that story. Now, I think that's the only time when I don't think you can kill that person on the spot, but I don't think you need to, try that person, something like that. So that would be the only thing that would touch this thing. Obviously, if not all those 12 Russians would have started shooting, that's not a prisoner. They were unarmed. So, I don't know, even if they were mercenaries, you don't kill them on the spot. That's certain. Even if the other guys were mercenaries, you don't kill these guys on the spot. So, as I'm not trying to absolve anybody of anything, because I don't have that authority, obviously. But we gotta wait until all the evidence, if we're gonna find the evidence and present it. But nobody's gonna do that. And in a war, who cares? This guy says, these guys are not gonna be caught. It's gonna take years to catch them. Maybe never, But that's how war is. It's criminal. However you take it, it's people killing other people in self-defense or in an offensive, aggressive way. Not that the self-defense is not aggressive, but it's in a defensive way anyway. And accidents also happen. I don't think there was an accident anyway, but what other option there is? No war, right? Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.